everyone, MDIO here. Welcome back to Maiden. Today I don't have anything planned in an exploring or a building sense. Instead, today I think I'm going to talk about my vacation. If you can call it a vacation. It was stressful, and it was fun, and I got to see a lot of my family, and I got to see too much of my family, and there was a lot of interesting buildings, and a lot of smog, and a lot of traffic, and lots of interesting people with different types of things to see and do, and there was so much. So I'd like to just talk about that for a while. I'm going to do some random things, breed some sheep, maybe some chocobos, harvest some materials, go grab some supplies, and I'm going to tell a story about what happened. So, let's start at the beginning. My sister had been planning a graduation party. She had been planning one for months, and both of my sisters were graduating, one from high school, one from college. So they wanted to go out with a really big bang at the end. The one that was planning it had somewhere between 20 and 30, maybe 40 people trying to get in on the party. And she asked them all, and she set up some plans. She put a price on it so that we could pay for food, room, board, events. It turned out to be about $500 to begin with, and that was okay with me. We were going to go rent a whole cabin, and we were going to go see a bunch of sights in the city of Seattle, Washington, and it was going to be all fun. However, $500 for a week is a bit steep for a random excursion. If you know about it 4, 5, 6 months in advance, then you can save for that. If you know what you want to do. Unfortunately, a lot of her friends, a lot of her people that she was going to have on the adventure, shall we say, didn't pan out. In fact, by the time we were done and everybody had decided what they wanted to do, no one wanted to come except our family. So it was downgraded to a family package where we're going to go camping and we're going to go see the city anyway. And it dropped down from $500 per person to $150. Now, I had already saved out $500 for this, so I went in with guns blazing, go buy all the food, all the things. Unfortunately, there were some things that happened along the way to where everybody was spending too much money on everything, and I ended up buying myself a new pair of shoes because my shoes had completely destroyed my feet. The calluses on my feet were coming off. That's how bad it was. Probably don't need that many seeds. So that's how it started. On the day that we were supposed to leave, I had packed up everything, and I went out to see my family. They're out in the middle of nowhere, 60 miles away from where I live, and it was a nice long drive, and I'm kind of used to this. I go see them every month, too, somewhere in there, although it's been less and less recently, with my sisters trying to graduate, and my mother trying to find a new boyfriend, even though she's 50 years old. Good for her, really. If she's going to do that, then by all means. She really needs somebody in her life. I'm getting off topic. So, we go out to the family. Actually, I think this is what we talked about on the way. And I go spend the night there. The next day, everybody goes and starts planning. They start packing, grabbing clothes, supplies, grabbing whatever they need out of things. And I'm sitting here with everything packed. I even have my tent and my sleeping bag in a backpack because I have a survival gear that's made for this. I have a frying pan and some plates and a fork and a spoon and a lighter. Everything you would need either in a survival or a camping situation. because those two situations are very, very similar. And I just sat there all day playing Minecraft, which is what the result of yesterday's video was. And let's see. It was about 12 hours that day where I was just sitting there playing Minecraft, watching people run around, trying to wash their clothes, trying to get the food going, trying to pack everything. It was kind of funny, actually. I saw people desperately trying to get the last bit of clothes. There was 6 people fighting over the washing machine and the dryer, and we ended up having to hang up some clothes on a clothesline afterwards just to get them to dry. It was a fun day. Really fun day if you're not in that sort of frantic mood where I gotta get things done right now. I had been planning this for months, so I just put away a pack, and I slept on the couch, I think. I slept on the couch for about an hour, then I went outside and I grabbed a different tent, because my tent is a one-person tent with a little tiny sleeping bag for my purposes, and my family wasn't having any of that. They gave me a nice big 3-man tent with an air mattress, and that's what I used the entire time. So the next day comes, we pack everything into the cars. We took 2 cars with 7 people between us. We brought along the... I think I'll call it my brother-in-law and his girlfriend. His girlfriend is actually my cousin. However, both of them have dogs, and they brought those dogs along. My sister has a dog, and my mother has a dog. So we have 4 dogs on the trip, in 2 cars. That was the fun part. We also had so many supplies that they were falling on top of people, and I think the only person who was not crowded was me, because I am a little bit claustrophobic. Putting a whole bunch of things on me is not a good idea when I try to jump out in the middle of traffic while a car is running down the road. And, well, yeah. So, I'm not crowded, but I need to be not crowded. Everybody else has things falling on top of them, or dogs at their feet, or some other kind of thing like this. And we go down the road 5-6 hours. We stop at a few rest stops. We finally get there. Everybody unpacks, they put up their tents, and we spend an hour or 2 just doing nothing. You know, I had still had my pack with me, with the tent and the sleeping bag in it. So all I did was rolled out the tent, put the sleeping bag in it, and then I had another hour of watching them all do things. Which was kind of fun, actually. You know, it's one thing to watch them be hectic and run around like a chicken with its head cut off, but it's another thing entirely to watch everybody leisurely put up their tents, get their sleeping bags. You know, weed is legal in marijuana. Wait. Washington has legalized marijuana recently, so they brought their own stash, and that's really okay with me. Because the people who smoke pot generally don't drink, and there are medicinal effects for this. Like, my mother has to use the marijuana sometimes to have an appetite, and she doesn't eat otherwise, and she has sugar problems besides, and the one guy who does use it doesn't drink, and he's a pretty mellow fellow, unless he's driving in the city. So, I'm not condoning the use of drugs, but it's better than the alcohol they had, which is more or less a drug. More on that later. We have a nice night, we go sleep, we all fall asleep, and the next day, we get up at, I think, 7:30, 8. I slept in pretty long that day. Everybody was awake by the time I was up, and I had went to sleep around 10 p.m. Yeah, no, I wanted to get up at 10 a.m. was the thing. So, we all get breakfast. I think it was some nice sausage and eggs and bacon. In fact, all week long it was sausage and eggs and bacon. We pack up, and two of the people that were coming along just to watch the dogs, and the other five of us get into the car, and we go to the Space Needle. On the way there, we grab some pictures, we make notes about the smog coming into the city, we take a few wrong turns because the camping spot we have is over an hour away, and when we finally get there, it's $15 for parking for 3 hours, and then another $3 per hour after that. And we have a good old time. We go up the Space Needle, take a bunch of pictures up there, because there's buildings everywhere, as far as you can see. I might include a couple pictures of the Space Needle, like the photos. And we really don't do anything up there except take pictures and have cameras. So this is like the last part in the trip where I have a camera, and my camera dies. Now, my camera died, and the lens was still open and out, so it's permanently fried. I didn't notice that until after we had got out of the Space Needle, and we were looking for food, went for Subway, and there was a big hassle over my camera died. It's supposed to be good, right? No. It's the bad kind of camera, because it's got a really good photo part on it, but it only costs $40, and I got it for Christmas 2 years ago, and I haven't used it since, and the batteries went out while it's out dying there, and blah 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 blah. Completely overshadows everything that had went up with the Space Needle. Because it was a nice, calm, picture-taking cruise, and my camera was now dead. I need one of these. So we go to one of the other areas after that. We go to the EMP Museum. And the EMP does not stand for electromagnetic pulse, as most people think of. I believe it is the Electronic Music Project, or Musicians Project. It's a museum over by the Space Needle, within walking distance. In fact, it's on the same block. And we walk in there, we all split up, go each and every different way. I went up to the 3rd floor, and there was a bunch of instruments up there. There was a keyboard, and a sound synthesizer, and a beat mixer, and a guitar, and you could just hear people banging on all these instruments and machines, and they all make random noise, and I'd have no sheep. No! Sidetrack. One ink sack. Funny bone meal. Okay, let's go get another ink sack. Anyway, so we walk around in there, beat on the machines ourselves for a while. We walk outside, and we walk into the pop center. I was with my sister, the younger sister at the time, and we just walk around the entire thing. There's pop music, and there's some pretty racy music videos in there that you can probably find. Lots of burning crosses and naked people doing sexy dances. And some of them are a little bit more than sexy, if you catch my drift. We walked around and saw some pop culture, some pop music. And that was really fun, actually. I don't remember a lot of it because my brain thinks in pictures, and it was really sound-oriented. So it's kind of hard to describe what a hip-hop and a jazz section of a music museum sounds like. Well, truth be told, I had a lot of fun, and I heard a lot of different things that I normally would not have, even though pretty much everything that you see in a museum nowadays is what you can find on the internet. Because the internet is the biggest museum in the entire world. And so we went back, and we had some ribs. They weren't really ribs. My family likes to call them ribs. What they are is they're pork like steaks cut into rib type shapes. They're little long and little fat and it's kind of like if you just cut a chunk of meat into a longer shape and called it a rib made out of pork meat, and then you cooked it and you put barbecue sauce on it. It's like a rib, only not with rib meat. There's a trend you might start to notice here. Other than the fast food, hey, gimme, gimme, gimme. Other than the fast food and the food that I bought, my family likes to eat meat. Or protein. Or more meat. Eggs, bacon, sausage, ribs. Yeah, this went on all week. Whenever we went out to a fast food place, I got a salad, or I got something with lots of bread, or something with veggies. Because sometimes we'd have 3 or 4 meals a day. I think it was 4 meals a day once, where we had sausage, and then we had ribs, and then we had... Oh my gosh, it was all meat. Lots of meat. Okay, so that's the end of the first day. We have lots of meat. The second day starts a bit early. And by a bit early, I mean at 5 a.m. Because I had gone to sleep early. I've been trying to gather my sleep schedule into a little bunch where it'll be constant and I can sleep at the same time every day. So I was trying to go to sleep at dusk. This is before dawn at 5 a.m. Let's call it my brother-in-law's cousin. No, it doesn't matter. Let's call her the drunk. Yes, that'll do. There's a drunk, and she drinks the entire time. She watches the dogs and stays away, but the rest of the time she's drunk. And at 5 a.m. she had woken up, and... Or was she up all night? I don't even know. She had woken everybody up, including me, because I sleep so deeply that I don't even wake up when things catch on fire. And she was like, I don't care about anything. I am here, and I'm going to sleep, or I'm going to be myself, or I'm so drunk that I'm going to... And, you know, she was just causing a big fuss, and... There was at least 2 people who told her politely to be quiet. Me being very much not polite in the morning after I had been woken up, I'd be like, shut up, you bitch! And... yeah. Yep. Gonna need to bleep that out. Anywho... So what we had was somebody up at 5 a.m., waking everybody up, and that was the way our day started. I went back to sleep. 3 of the other people did not. There was a lot of bacon and a lot of sausage that morning, and we had so many tales the next day that everybody was, I wake up at 5 in the morning, and why the heck do you make me do things? So we didn't do a whole lot that day. I think we went to a science museum for kids, and, you know, it was nice and fun. There was a lot of bubbly things in there, but it was a science museum for kids. What are you going to do if you are 5 adults walking into there, and you see kids all over the place with the dinosaurs and the amoebas and the human body? You know, it was a good place if you wanted to learn about things that a lot of people already know about. Or if you're 5 or 6 years old. It's really perfect for a learning environment for that. But we didn't spend very much time there. We just spent all day, I'm going to kill somebody for waking me up at 5 a.m. Now I'm going to cook more ribs and sausage, and I'm going to sleep. And then the drunk is there getting drunk with her boyfriend again. They had bought a whole gallon of alcohol so they could drink over the course of the week. And they had worked their way through about half a gallon by the end of the night. So come the next day, because of the nonsense that had gone on the day before, we had decided that it was going to be a rest day. Also, we had gone through one exhibit on a day before, so we had to have something to do on the third day when we had no plans for, since we did it on the first day, or the second day, or... It really doesn't matter, because we didn't spend a whole lot of time there, and everybody was blah, blah. So, we spent the day doing a lot of nothing at the campsite. People pulled out their phones, they pulled out their electronic devices, and by this time my computer was dead. I had been using it for a couple things, but it only has a couple hours of battery life, so it really doesn't help to just have it there. So instead we went to the beach, because apparently there was a beach right next to where we were. Seattle is pretty close to the ocean, and the place we were at was right on a beach, since we were, I think, east of Seattle, or west, or somewhere close to the ocean, and the beach was not really a beach that I'd seen before. It was like silt. The entire beach was covered in this sort of muddy, dry sand, and there was clay mixed in, but it was all sand. It was like if you took dirt and you took clay and you turned it into some kind of small particle that was shaped sort of like sand. In a river, it would be called silt, and it would have all this junk mixed in, but this was the ocean, so it was actually sand. And there was a whole lot of seaweed on the surface. There was a bunch of purple shells around. We weren't supposed to go catch the seafood. Yeah, we weren't supposed to catch the seafood because the seafood was toxic. Something about the area around there was toxic for humans. All the shells that we found on the beach were purple on the inside instead of blue or green or the normal sea color, which probably had something to do with it. There was a couple jellyfish in the bay. I think it was a beach bay. It was like, let me get a good image here. Like, here, if this is the ocean right here. This is the big old ocean. And then we have the part right here where the water comes in. There was like a bay here, and we were right about here. And it was actually part of the ocean. It was just like an inlet. A place where we could call home. Oop, I'm painting the thing. Yeah. Completely forgot what I was doing. Let's go paint something. So we spent 4 or 5 hours there, not having anything else to do. We played some cards. We did a lot of nothing. In fact, we just sat around good 5 hours of the day because my sister had planned for a large group, and that sort of panned out, so she didn't make any plans for having group activities for small things. They forgot all the board games. They didn't make any camping trivia or didn't find anything to do, no sights to see. We thought we'd just have something to do every day. And here's a day where we didn't have anything. So we would go to sleep that night. The drunks drink it again, trying to finish off what they have. This is kind of important because they don't actually finish it off. The next day, we discover that we have an extra pass to the Space Needle because we have that. So we take that and we go into town. We go to the Space Needle. I don't want to go up to the Space Needle again because my camera's fried, and my mother just didn't want to go up 600 feet in the air. Was it? I think it's 560 feet is the height of the Space Needle, which would be 530 feet would be the top of the deck. So a little bit exaggerated. So the two people, the drunk and her boyfriend, they get a pass and they go up to the top of the Space Needle. This might have been the day before, actually. Ah, I really didn't pay attention to many of the days. I just paid attention to the events, and trying to reconstruct them afterwards is a bit like having a bunch of photographs. Some of them are in order, some of them are out of order. There used to be these old cameras that have reels of film in there, and you'd have a whole bunch of pictures in a line, and you have one of these lines. You have one like this, and then you'd have a different one like this, and then you'd have another one like that, and then sometimes you'd have one that was just disconnected. Sort of how my brain's thinking right here. You know what? That may have been a lazy day. So they go up on the Space Needle, and I think we go to the Kid Museum that day. Yeah, I'm back on day 2. Skip it, skip it. Let's fast forward. The drunk and her boyfriend are drinking again and again, and they're being really loud at night. And I try to sleep, and everybody else tries to sleep because it's 11 a.m. and everybody wakes up nice and shiny and pretty, and some people have hangovers, and they're the ones that actually slept that night instead of staying up until 3 a.m. trying to sleep. And we have one more day. One more day in Seattle. We have 2 things left to do. For me, this was actually yesterday, so it's a bit clearer. So we went into town, once again. Is every time we go into town, we take a wrong turn on the way in. There's a road, and we get on the highway, and they're like, let's go over here. Let's follow this guy's GPS. Your GPS map is 3 months, or 3 years out of date. So we go over here. Oops, wrong way. Get back on the highway. Oop, wrong way again. Let's go over here on the highway. Oh, where's the highway at? Wait. Oh, here's the highway. Okay, we get on the highway. We go back into town. And we go over to the sea. We go over to the pier, the ocean, the salty place where there's an aquarium and there's a cruise line ship. We actually had it's called a City Pass, and the City Pass has 5 events in it, 5 destinations, and one of these is a cruise line, which is not as fun as it sounds, since it only lasts an hour, and we're not actually going anywhere. We do something like this. Hey, let's go out, and we're going out into the bay, the ocean, kind of both. And there's like a place over there where we can get out, and it actually looks kind of like this. And we're like, hey, here's a Space Needle, and here's some buildings, and here's some trivia about the buildings, and we're going to go cruise around, and here's a dock, and here's a bunch of ships unloading. And this is how these boxes work on the ships. They're interchangeable with semis and with trains. And let's come back to the port. It was really nice to be on a ship. It was just completely underwhelming. We're like, let's get on a cruise line. Yeah! Let's go out over here. We're going to spend an hour on the ocean doing this. I'm looking. Okay, so that part is really bad, because I get bored, my sister gets seasick, the other one tries to take pictures of everything, my mother's sitting there trying to comfort my sister, and my sister's boyfriend's just kind of like, yep, I'm bored too. So after that, we go into the aquarium. The aquarium has a bit of the sea life around in the bay. It was nice seeing the anemones and the jellyfish and some of the seaweed. There was a few snails. Snails apparently don't like being in water all the time. They like to crawl up the side of tanks and sit there and suck on things, and then make egg sacs that actually look like this, if it was pink. This would be a pink egg sac stuck to the side of a wall. Then we go into a spot where they have Hawaiian fish, which is really odd because we're in Seattle. And this is like the rainy, dark place. And they have a whole bunch of Hawaiian fish. So we go in there, we look at the coral, we look at the clownfish, we look at this one that has a really long nose. Goes from... It's kind of like a seahorse if you took it and stretched it from end to end, like... It's not like, whew, this would be a normal seahorse. This would be like... It's called a tubefish. But it has that sort of horsey face, and it's just really long and weird looking. But it's actually a fish because it does have a fin. In fact, it has two fins right on its tail. It's like one big tail fin on the outside. Like, if this was a fish... Here, let's get this. This would be the tail. This would be the tail, right there. And this would be the fin. And the fish goes way out like this. Maybe a little bit longer. Yeah, that's a fish. It's a fish with a fin. It's really funny looking. We see a bunch of coral. We see a jellyfish. Not just a bunch of jellyfish. We see a jellyfish. It's like a big jellyfish. It's like 4 feet wide. We see an octopus next to it that's just as big. And the octopus is so big it could be like jump on your face and go, ah, yeah, yeah. But no, it's a really friendly one. You can't touch it because it has its own tank, and each of the tanks in this place have 6-inch glass protecting them. And we walk around, we see some sea otters. I really like sea otters. The one that had my interest was the one that was swimming, except it was swimming on its back with its paws on its chest. It has like hands. It'd be like if you mixed a hand with a paw, and then you give it a really cute face, and then you give it a tail, and it kind of swims like that, just bloop, bloop, bloop. We saw some sharks and a whole bunch of different fish in with the sharks, which was a little bit odd. You think sharks eat fish all the time, right? No. We got a stingray that's bigger than the shark, and the shark just kind of goes right away from it because this stingray is higher up on the food chain than the shark. Not to mention a bunch of fish in there. We go under a dome, and there's even more fish down there. There's a bunch of salmon that are spawning, and there's some sea lions. The sea lions they like to go in circles, at least in their tank, because they have a small tank, and if they want to get exercise, they do this. It'd be like if you were in a gym where you had a circular track, or like a conveyor belt. What are those things called? Treadmills. You got a treadmill that goes slower than you do, so you just go walking around, and it's like this big. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Go to the gift store, grab a few things, leave, go over to Pikes Market, which was really, really weird. Pikes Market. Okay, so here's Pikes Market. Go to the first floor. Here's the market, right? There's a street over there. You go up 2 floors. There's a street over there. And you're on the 3rd floor. You go up another 3 floors, and there's another street. And you can see the ocean. But you can also see the street because you're right on it, and you just went up to the ground level 6 times. And they've got all kinds of random things in there. There was a place selling incense and a place selling anything that the local artist had. I'm thinking of something. It's copper. It's like an earring and a necklace. And it's stripped insulation wire that was made into jewelry. There's something with candles, and there's a bunch of food places. We had Chinese, we had American, we had a farmer's market inside the same building. There was a leather shop next to a magic store, next to some kind of giant man's shoe. You had to go look inside and put a quarter in the thing. And, well, it was a really, really nice place. It was like the most interesting thing that happened on the entire trip was going into this fantastic market that we could have gone to the Space Needle in there, and that would have been like everything. Maybe the cruise line. Maybe. The EMP museum wasn't bad. But if we would have only spent 1 day there, I would have went to the Space Needle and the Pikes Market. I didn't even have money at that point. I had $3. I went and bought an apple, and I went and bought a candle. And all the people there were really friendly and really close to each other because Seattle has so many people. Like 600,000 people, I think. I could be wrong on that. Do not quote me on that number. Okay, so that's the end of the day. And we go back to the campsite. And we all wind down. Somebody runs by us, like, at night. Not quite at night, like at dusk. And they take a styrofoam cup. And they throw it at us. We think somebody dropped something off the table. The styrofoam cup has dog poop in it. It gets reported to the park ranger. Nobody sleeps for the next hour because we think they're going to come back. We lock all the car doors, and then we just go to sleep. We wake up the next morning, have even more sausage and eggs and ribs, except we got pizza somewhere. I think we made a pit stop somewhere, and somebody went and ordered Domino's pizza. But they ordered 4 pizzas, and they got 3. So we ended up waiting an extra 20 minutes for them to make the other 2 pizzas that they were supposed to make. And since they goofed, they gave us the goof pizza. So we walked back to camp with 5 pizzas, and then somebody throws the poo at us. Yeah. Interesting day that day. Then we have today, which is not going to be the same today for me as it is for you guys. It's probably going to be a couple days from now. That was really simple. Wake up, pack up. Again, my things are already packed up. All I do is put up my tent and my sleeping bag that I had borrowed, and wait for everybody else to put up all the things that they had brought. They put the food, burn some things at the campfire, and we take off and we go home. And then we come back and separate. And here I am now, playing Minecraft with you. Sort of. Something. I need sleep. I wasn't planning on getting a whole lot done this episode, but I didn't think it would devolve into just wandering around and being like, I'm a derp, let's talk about things. Well, it was some interesting things. YouTube read. I really had a lot of fun, and I had a lot of problems because of the way that we had drunkards and we had dogs, and oh my gosh. I made a set of criteria if I'm ever going to go visit with my family again for something like this. No dogs, no drunks, no douchebags. The drunkard actually qualifies as all 3, because when she gets drunk, she becomes a douchebag. And when she is drunk, which is 90% of the time, she has a dog. And yeah, no, it just doesn't work out very well. None of the other people who wanted to go camping want to go camping with her ever again. Or go on vacation with her, or anything. In fact, she lives with my family right now, and they're going to kick her out pretty soon. It's kind of bad. Oop. So I think that's the story of my vacation. Give or take a few details, give or take a few days, and you do what you can trying to remember these things, and I will probably remember them, but putting them together in the right order is something different entirely. I did not keep a journal. I kept a good recollection in my head of the things that happened, but not the order they were in. So, this is my experience with this. I guess that's it. That's what I've been doing the past week anyway. If anybody wants to go to Seattle, I would recommend bringing a whole lot of money for parking, or riding a bus, or both. Because the parking there is way more expensive than it is around where I'm at. And, well, let's say that I was not expecting to spend $40 for 1 day's worth of parking for 2 cars. Yeah. We spent a long time in town that day, just looking at shops and random things, and basically wasting time, because we had all day to spend on the dang parking. And the food. Everything there was more expensive than around here. Like, the standard of living is higher because of the sheer amount of people and the amount of business that they get. They can afford to have so many people having so much higher prices because everybody has them. Also, if you're going to go there, I recommend also going to the Space Needle, looking out where the large building is, getting a picture of that, where the smog's at, and then looking out where all the smaller buildings and all the trees are, and getting a picture of the not smog. It was fantastic. There was no smog in one direction, and long barking black booger coughing black in the other. The only other thing I would say is, if you're going to go on vacation with people, make sure you know who you're doing what with. Make sure you have plans for the day, or not plans. You know, plans for the off days if you're going to have them. And no dogs. Just don't bring any dogs unless it's your dog or you have a bunch of dog people, because the people who are not dog people are going to either complain or not be happy the entire time. Case in point, I wanted to kill a few dogs for barking at everybody that walked by, including the one that was supposed to be friendly. Yeah. So, I'm going to end it here before I ramble on for too long. So next time we'll get into some more interesting building projects, and I will try to explain what's going on with my large building, which is a manor, mansion, castle, part of a citadel wall sort of thing that's wasting all of my stone that I have ran out of stone on. Yeah. So, thank you all for watching, and we'll see you again next time. Bye-bye.